Hansel and Gretel. A very, very long time ago, a poor but happy family lived right at the edge of a large forest. The father was a carpenter, and the mother stayed at home to take care of their two little children, Hansel and Gretel. Times were hard, and often they didn't have enough to eat. But they loved each other very much, and that was their biggest treasure. Hansel and Gretel liked to play in the woods, but their mother would often warn them,
"Be careful! Amelia the wicked witch lives there."
Like all children, Hansel and Gretel were at times mischievous. One evening they bickered so much that they left the soup on the stove for too long. When their mother came back, the soup was all burnt.
"Now we have nothing for dinner," she told them. "I am really angry. Quick, go and pick some berries before Father comes home."
The children felt so guilty, and the mother was so preoccupied with dinner, that no one noticed that it was already late. The children went inside the forest, and soon they were enveloped in thick darkness. They were cold and scared as they searched and searched for berries, but found none. Suddenly they reached a large clearing. Gone were the familiar trees and the sound of the river that ran close to their cottage. Everything was dark and strange. They were lost. In the meantime, Father came home. "Look what I have," he said, proudly showing to his wife a basket filled with cheese, meat, bread, and wine.
"Oh, no!"
cried the wife, suddenly alarmed.
"The children, they are still in the forest. I sent them to look for berries."
The moon was shining high in the sky as they rushed inside the dark forest. "Hansel! Gretel!" they cried and cried.
"Hansel, Gretel!"
But no one answered. They searched all night and all of the next day, but the children had vanished.
"What have I done?" cried their poor mom. "I am scared that Amelia—"
She was right to be scared. It was early morning when Hansel and Gretel reached a small house in the middle of the forest, made of gingerbread. The windows were framed in chocolate bars, and the roof was made of colored jelly beans. It smelled so nice. The two children started to nibble at the delicious walls straight away.
"Who is nibbling at my house?"
Hansel and Gretel stopped eating at once. Out of the house came a stooped woman with a gigantic crooked nose and a face covered with at least 20 enormous warts. It was the terrible witch, Amelia. Hansel and Gretel tried to run away, but Amelia waved her black wand and murmured a terrible spell.
"Wickedly, wickedy, wackety, woof! You will now stop and no longer move!"
The poor kids could no longer move.
"Plenty of food, plenty of food,"
she murmured.
"But they are so thin, especially the girl. Oh well, I'll eat the boy first. But he needs to become a little bit more plump. More plump. And the girl, she can be my servant."
The kids were horrified. The terrible Amelia wanted to eat them both. Again, they tried to escape, but they couldn't. The witch waved her wand once more. How strange. They both went inside the gingerbread house. Hansel entered a large cage next to the stove, and Gretel took a broom and started sweeping the floor. Laughed the evil witch. Then she took a big key from a large pocket of her gown and locked the cage. Hansel and Gretel had become prisoners of Amelia, the terrible witch. Hansel was forced to eat all sorts of food, and with each passing day, he became fatter and fatter. Gretel was working around the gingerbread house, doing all sorts of chores, cleaning, dusting, cooking, and washing. One day, while the terrible witch was fast asleep, Hansel called to his sister.
Gretel, come here.
She came close to the cage.
Listen carefully. While I am still thin, we are safe. Amelia will only eat me once I become fat. Oh, Hansel, you are eating so much. I fear we don't have much time left. You must go to the witch and take her key. But I'm scared. Please, you have to do it, Gretel.
Gretel looked at the witch. She was snoring with her mouth open, showing her horrible, pointy, black teeth. One eye was open and staring at the ceiling. Gretel moved slowly towards her. She was just about to take the key when Amelia turned on one side with a loud snore. The open eyes stared right at Gretel, and it looked as if the witch was fully awake. But she wasn't. Gretel shook all over. Never in her whole life had she felt more scared. Gretel summoned all her courage. She bent over the witch, and with a shaking hand, she searched into the witch's pocket. There it was, the key to the cage. Gretel quickly unlocked the cage, but kept the door closed.
Now, Gretel, put the key back in her pocket. She can't suspect a thing.
After several hours, Amelia woke up. She felt quite rested, but deeply unsatisfied. She went to the cage and looked at Hansel.
You are still thin,
she croaked.
but my patience is over. I will eat you tonight. Gretel, prepare the oven. It must be brightly lit, because I want to roast your brother to perfection.
Gretel lit the oven, and soon there was a nice fire burning brightly. But the witch was not satisfied.
The fire is not hot enough,
Lamented the witch.
How would I know if the fire is hot enough?
Asked Gretel.
Put your head inside. Here, let me show you.
Amelia stuck her head and shoulders into the oven. Just then, Hansel opened the cage, and with a mighty push, he shoved the witch right inside. And then he slammed the oven door and bolted it.
Let me out!
Screamed the witch. But the children kept the door closed. A thick smoke soon enveloped the entire gingerbread house. The terrible Amelia was gone. The gingerbread house melted, and after weeks of being imprisoned, Hansel and Gretel were finally free. As they rushed outside the melting house, they saw the loving faces of their parents, who had never stopped searching for them. Nestled in their warm embrace, Hansel and Gretel sighed with joy. breathing in the delicious smell of home.